welcome to the break room. I'm Kelly.
I'm Tori.
And it is Tuesday, January 8th.
Hi guys, how are you? I hope you have your frothy coffee.
Frothy coffee ready.
And I hope you have a good day. Today is going to be my intention today is to notice change and not worry about it in the body.
Oh, that's a really good intention. I like that.
Thanks.
Send us your intentions if you have them.
Please do.
This is Break Room at our new time. This is when we like to take a break with you, talk about the top trending stories of the day. Some serious, some fun, a little in between.
A little column A, a little column B.
Yeah. So we want to keep you informed. We want you to know.
Yeah. Al says I look like a bag check girl at a teenage birthday party. Do I?
Wait, you mean like checks the bags at the door?
But I'm like at a teen, like a
Kylie Jenner party where you're checking.
Or I'm like, it's like Dave and Buster's, like, can I take your coat? So I guess, yeah, that did resonate with people.
Pretty good. That's pretty good, Al. We'll give you that one.
Alex laughs. So.
But yeah, this is our new time, 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. We're also on Facebook again, so you can watch us there, or on Periscope, or on YouTube. So we're here.
Join us along.
Yeah. First, we're talking about the government shutdown today. Obviously, that's a big story that's covering all the national headlines right now. We're in day 18. It's headed to the longest shutdown. Right now, it's the third longest shutdown ever. Of course, it's all over the border wall in Mexico that President Trump wants. He will be speaking during prime time tonight. That will be at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's possible he declares a state of emergency tonight, or a national emergency, excuse me, tonight. We're not sure if that's going to happen or not. Obviously, the government shutdown is affecting a lot of us with the IRS tax refunds. You know, it could affect food stamps, marriage licenses, basic things that you don't think about that it affects you.
I think to be the longest one ever.
Yeah, she said that. Thank you, Jay.
But it is, if it reaches until Saturday, I believe it'll be the longest one ever. Yeah.
So a couple of things problematic with Trump wanting to have primetime coverage. That is normal. You know, a president can absolutely take primetime. But Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are now asking for equal time. So usually when you have news coverage and you give some to one party, you usually give it to the other.
Yep, as a journalist, even back in the day, if I did one shot from the Republican side, I always had to do another sound from the Democratic side. You have to show both sides.
Right, and the other problem that they want to do this is because they want to fact check. And a lot of the primetime channels are saying we can't have him live, President Trump, because we don't know if he literally will not tell the truth, and they want to be able to delay to be able to fact check. So when he said things like, I spoke to former presidents about the border wall, and they all recommended it, Jimmy Carter, for instance, said,
saying, I wish I had done it.
Not true. So they can't have him speak like that, and then that's not true. So there's a little bit of problematic. There's some problems
sticky
here.
From our business, from our point of view, it's sticky because what do you do as CNN or as one of those networks? I read something this morning that said, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't.
Yeah.
So where Tori was saying with that, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, they're asking for extra airtime. So we do believe we're going to see that tonight after his speech. That's not positive. We're not positive what time they're going to be speaking, but I think that's fair.
Right. And I'm sure Trump won't like it because he likes to always get the last word.
Yeah, of course.
And Pelosi and Schumer, since the day she started, she has been raring to go as someone who is just going to quietly tell him that he's not telling the truth and fact check him. So we will see what happens. It'll be a big night tonight. The other thing I don't want us to forget in all of this, because I feel like we have, is that we were promised so many times that Mexico would pay for this wall. So why we're being now held hostage as American taxpayers makes very little sense when the campaign itself promised we wouldn't have to pay a dime. I don't understand why more people aren't a little bit more upset about that. So I want to continue telling the DBL Nation about that, reminding the DBL Nation that he said over and over, not once or twice, but Mexico will pay. Who will pay? Mexico. So why are we now having people that are starting a GoFundMe page, a government worker, to pay for her rent?
Well, that's what I want to know. Do you, DBL Nation, do you know anyone who's being affected by the government shutdown personally? Do you know any federal workers? I read this morning that 800,000 federal workers will be listed as unemployed if this continues, which is a huge deal.
Yeah, 38 million people dealing with food stamps could be affected.
That's insane.
So this is, now we're talking survival, shelter, food, water services at some point. Coast Guards are giving back Christmas gifts because they can't afford them anymore because they're non-essentials. TSA agents. I'm going to New York on Saturday, and I'm worried about LaGuardia because, as Kelly said, said the blue flu.
The blue flu.
Which is all of the TSA agents calling in sick because they're not being paid.
They're not being paid.
There's a meme going around. I have not verified this. I just want you to know it's overheard in LA, which is something that we've heard. And it's someone says, "Oh, do I need to take my laptop out of the case?" And the TSA agent responds, "I don't care. I'm not being paid." And when you have that mindset, again, I don't know if this,
even if that's not true, that's the mindset that a lot of these TSA agents have, or they wouldn't be calling in sick.
Right.
Sorry, my Clippy is still in.
So this says, Tony Owens cohort says, just build that wall. Susan Jones, Mexicans will pay for the wall in the long run. Use some common sense. Well, my common sense says he promised it over and over again in plain English. Who will pay for it? Mexico.
And now people aren't being paid.
Right. So I'm trying to use common
deal.
sense, and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. So
I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people feel like they're taking crazy pills, and that's why Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi want a chance to make sure that they're showing the facts. Whether you think the Democrats are saying facts or lies or not, it doesn't matter. They have to have that equal airtime. And when networks are worried about airing the president speaking live, that's an issue. That's a big problem.
I agree.
From a journalist point of view, that's a big problem. I mean, it's giving me chills thinking about it because those facts, you want the public to be informed. You want Americans to be informed. It's our job to make sure we're fact-checking those things, and they can't if the president's... And I'm not saying he's going to lie, but it's a concern.
It's a problem.
That's a big deal.
Susan Jones, please write us in. You are writing us and says, facts, not gossip, ladies. Tell us what facts you are actually referring to, because I want to have a great debate here. We're trying to tell you the facts, and I would love to hear what you think is more factual. Now, some people say with NAFTA, that'll pay for it. That's not what he campaigned on. And if you believe in campaign promises that Trump says he'll keep, the fact is he said Mexico will pay, and now he's reneging on that. I would love, though, to have a rebuttal from you. So please let me know. Michelle Owens agrees Mexico will not pay for it.
And Susan, I do want you to also know that this show, Break Room, it's where we can give our opinions and be open. I want to hear your opinions. And of course, I'm sure she was talking about the meme that you were talking about with TSA, but you know what? If the blue flu is happening, there are some TSA agents who do feel that way, whether that actual conversation happened or not.
Yeah, at some point you don't feel respected.
You know what I mean?
Pay.
Yeah, it's just, I think about if I was in that position, if I was a federal worker, and then I think about if they're all going to be listed as unemployed, are these people going to get unemployment?
And also, we're supposed to be there for protection, and we're losing TSA agents at security when the most scary part of people coming into this country is from airports.
That's the biggest concern right now.
And
it's
now,
like, our TSA agents are calling in sick. Well, if I'm a terrorist...
And so we're loosening the border security that we so
scary.
desperately needed. We also have the fact that Canada border allowed or had more terrorists stopped than the Mexican border, and no one's talking about a wall over in the northern part of our country. So it's very interesting to me. But please respond. I'm just trying to have a debate going on
This
here.
is the point of this show. We like to have a debate, and we want to hear your opinions, and we want to give you the facts so you can decide for yourself.
Yeah, John Venturini has a quick question here. Could the network show Trump's address on a 1/2 hour tape?
You know, that's a good question.
And I think that's, to be honest, my future blog, my prediction is that's probably what some will do. That's not what Trump will do, but it's certainly what some primetime, like CNN, I bet will have some type of delay to have a fact check. I assume you're correct, and that's a good way to do that.
Rainey's joining us on YouTube today. She says, now he says that Mexico will pay for the wall with future savings from a new trade deal. More smoke and mirrors. It isn't up to him how any possible revenue from trade agreements are spent.
Yeah. Yep. So let us know if you're frustrated, if you really believed in this wall, which I would love to hear from, and you really believe that Mexicans and Mexico would pay for it, and now you're seeing that our federal government is being hurt, and it's regular people like you getting hurt. Are you frustrated that you were told one thing and now you're getting another? Fact we will suffer, says Virginia Jones. Ann Wright Minor says, now they know a lot more about people in the USA. Feels never take what you have for granted. Facts are we are suffering right now. And, you know, that's true. So interesting. Yep. Let us know how you guys feel about all this. And if you think they should scrap the wall in order to just get back to some kind of compromise. Yeah,
some kind of compromise where the government isn't shut down anymore.
Yes.
Another story we're talking about today is coming out of Florida, and this does kind of relate to the same thing. Today is a big day in Florida. 1 million people who had felonies will now be able to register to vote. So this comes after, I want to get it exactly right, the amendment was passed by voters in November. Of course, we've talked about this in the show before. So it overturned this 150-year law where it disenfranchised these people. They weren't allowed to vote. They weren't allowed to do a lot of things. And so our question today is, do you think felons should be allowed to vote? Are you happy about this? Do you think it's a good idea? I mean, the biggest thing is that it's going to completely change the political landscape in Florida. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of people disenfranchised. Well, Debbie Gunn already wrote in on Facebook, says felons should not be allowed to vote. That's the sentence I think we're all expecting to sort of hear. And I just want to inform
know why.
you guys,
yeah.
because knowledge is power and it's important. The word felon is so scary sounding because I picture murder, armed robbery, assault, rape. And I want you to know that some of these felons and felonies are actually quite not
minuscule?
small, but compared to that, quite small. So we're talking sometimes like a DUI back when you were in high school, which is horrible.
Or getting caught with a small amount of marijuana.
Or if you were smoking a joint or something, for the rest of your life, you weren't allowed to vote. And what some people did, I'm not saying this is true, but some people say that is they targeted brown people for these minor infractions so that they could legally disenfranchise, meaning not allow them to vote, that's all it means, in elections. So what we're saying is we're now allowing this population that hasn't done anything violent, these are minor sort of offenses, to vote. Now, I would love to know your opinion. What do you think, Hal?
I think, of course, they should be allowed to vote. I think if it's something so small, just like, I'm blanking on her name, Alice
Johnson, yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Alice Johnson. So something she's paid her time for. Yeah, Alice Johnson was the woman that Kim Kardashian actually helped get free from prison, and
she had a
minor drug offense,
a first offense drug, and now she was trafficking. I mean, she was a
dealer.
She
paid her time,
right?
And she was going to be in prison for pretty much the rest of her life, and she's now not in prison anymore. So I just believe that. If it was something so small, and we're actually going to have examples in the show today of what these felonies could have been. Yeah. I mean, it could be anything. But I think if it's something small that just happens to be listed as a felony, of course they should be able to vote. And to not be able to vote for the rest of their life is insane to me.
Yeah, I would love to know what you people think. Yeah, people are saying it's a socioeconomic disenfranchisement as well as sort of a racial. So Meek Mills, if you remember, is a rapper that was kind of put in jail for a minor infraction on a probation. And he came out on The Daily Show and said, I was in jail with someone who owed $100 and couldn't pay it.
So that's the kind of stuff
they're in jail for like years and years and years.
Over a parking ticket or something, you know?
And those people can't vote. And at that point, we're really sort of tamping down on a whole generation of people and saying, quiet and silencing them. And I wonder if you guys think that that's fair. Now, B.H. Brady just wrote us in, TSA agents have been criticized for years for not doing a good job. But now it's an issue. You all have criticized them on DBL in the past. Yeah, no point do I think they shouldn't get paid. At this point, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
They're still doing their job.
And I will
criticize
criticize
people
people
every day.
all the time. I mean, we're all going to be critical at different points. That's also possible in this world. But it's also possible that they need to get paid straight up.
Just because we criticize them doesn't mean we don't support them at certain times, you know?
Yeah, so John Venturini, given how many people are incarcerated in this country, we should allow nonviolent felons after a probationary period the right to vote. Now, a lot of people don't agree with this, so I would love to find out what you guys think. If it's small, they should, but big ones, they should not, says Liz Weed, so I appreciate that.
Yes,
Michelle Owen says, heck, the Russians got the vote. Ooh, burn. All right.
Thanks, guys.
So we're going to go. That was awkward. Sorry, she's like touching things. We're going to go to fifth host now. Remember, our panel needs you, so please jump in, and it's a really, really good one. So we're going to have Jason Newteal come in. He's the digital EP to discuss the fifth host.
How are you all?
Very exciting.
This was an interesting topic.
Very interesting.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I think I've got what they call the keto flu.
Oh.
I don't know if, yeah. So I'm trying to do the keto diet.
That's great.
Yeah.
And?
Sugar withdrawals are now in full effect. And
are you shaking and crying in the corner?
I'm rocking in the fetal position at work, which is fine.
You're doing great.
It's fine. I'm feeling great. Feeling great. But, you know, we were talking about this morning. J-Lo came out, and I think it was, I don't know where it was trending. I think it might have been People. But I'm not sure. But she said she's super glad she met A-Rod later in her life because she feels that if they had met each other in their wild 20s or 30s, they would never have been able to last this long.
Yes.
So it got us thinking this morning here at DBL, you know, whether or not you guys, the DBL Nation, feel like you can find lasting Do you feel like you're more likely to find lasting love in your 40s than, say, in your 30s and 20s? Which sparked an interesting conversation because there are plenty of people out there who are still married to their high school sweethearts who would say, doesn't apply to me. But then there's other people who are, I have a lot of friends of my age group, which is like 40, early 40s. And the ones who got married early went through 1, 2, 3 marriages. And it really wasn't the second or third marriage until it really stuck, because they were changing. They were constantly finding themselves and reinventing themselves, or just too immature to maintain a relationship like that. So we just wanted to know what you guys thought about that. Do you feel like it's easier to find a lasting and true love later in life than it is earlier in life? Just like J-Lo and A-Rod.
Oh, gosh.
They're just like us.
They're just like us. Stars. They're just like us.
You know?
I think what's so interesting is like the life expectancy has gotten longer. Mm-hmm. So we don't mature as fast earlier. So we're literally becoming better people later.
Stephen Hill, oh my God, she looked over me again.
Oh, I think Stephen Hill wanted to ask about curling irons. We did use curling irons today.
Stop overlooking Stephen's
Sorry, I'm really
questions.
sorry. I'm really sorry,
The answer
Stephen.
is yes, Stephen.
Curling irons were
Curling
used.
irons.
If that was your question, I hope that was your question. Yes. I hope that answered your question. I think that I wasn't a good person until like 34.
I'm not sure I'm even
Still a
there
good
yet at
person.
43.
And I think because when you used to die at 50, you'd have to be a good person at 20
Yeah.
or like 18. And now we like have so much longer.
I also feel like your wild 20s maybe in 1958 weren't as wild as your wild 20s in 1999.
Yeah.
With social media apps and dating apps, Tinder, and also if you live in a big city in your 20s versus living in a more rural area, maybe there's a lot more to see and do. Maybe so you're
and
a
lot
bit
more a pool of women or men
yes.
in
you're a little
city.
bit more distracted by the big lights and the.
But I do know that people
fast-moving-
in their 40s plus sometimes say their pool isn't big enough for that.
Well, that's an interesting point too.
Because there's a downside to waiting until you're older.
Yes, so let us know. Like, did you find your lasting love in your 40s, 50s, 60s, or did you find your lasting love in your 20s, teens, 30s? We want to hear your stories. So. Rainey saying, I met my now wife when I was 16, lost touch, met again at 30, and have been together for almost 17 years.
I love that,
That's
Rainey.
amazing. So you guys
I love
met
it.
young, innocent love, went and had your wild, young adult days of freedom, then came back.
Isn't that sweet?
Brilliant.
I think that's lovely.
Kim Matuzak says, I think when you get older, you know more about yourself and your likes and dislikes, so I definitely think you are able to find your match when you are older. That's interesting.
What are the things called deal breakers? I think your deal breakers are in bold when you're older. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, I'm like, oh, he's not that nice, but whatever, blah, blah, blah. When I'm like 44 and I haven't found someone, I'm like, yo, out, see ya, bye-bye.
Right. I think
I don't know why when I'm 40 I only speak in one syllable
See ya.
words.
You
Bye.
sound,
I seem a little angry.
Madonna Matthews says, we found each other at 18 and have been married for 32 years.
I love that.
Perfectly speaking to that. Madonna, where are you from? I'm just curious. And are you and your husband, I'm trying to figure out, I feel like it all depends on your personality. Like if you're someone who feels angsty when you're young and like has to sow their oats, so to speak, and your partner is also like that like clearly A-Rod's life as a baseball player and J-Lo's life as an actress and musician, they were probably had more wild lives than all of us.
Yes.
So for them to say it makes sense, but I don't know if it does apply to everybody.
Right, because she had a second coming with, after Geely, things weren't looking good. So she really had another I call it John Travolta comeback, from Pulp Fiction. Uh-huh. She really reemerged, and maybe that's why she feels she can have another chance. Now, I don't know if everyone reemerges in that way that J-Lo does. Sometimes you just feel like there's no one around to find. And I think it can be much, much tougher, which I found that I know people in their 40s and 50s that are saying, my pool is so much smaller, I'm having a much tougher time. So would love to know what you guys think.
John Venturini says there is no time limit on love. That I agree, 100%. Madonna said she's from Ohio. He is from Pennsylvania. We knew each other exactly 19 days and went south of the border to get married. I love you. I love you.
Whoa, I love your love, Madonna.
I love your
also,
love,
how is
Madonna.
it being the material girl? Is it hard? Is it difficult?
That's great.
That's really
Beth
cool.
Ulrichson, fifth host. Yes, I think you are more likely to find true love later. As I tell my kids, you cannot expect someone to be happy with you until you have learned to be happy with yourself.
I think that, and then my cousin Max, who I was like, oh my God, what is he doing? He has a high school girlfriend. They went into college. They're still together. And I'm like,
God bless
I
them.
judged so quickly I think I judge young relationships
Well,
more.
it's easier to judge. I think the Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande were a classic example of J-Lo and A-Rod younger and how that can be very turbulent.
Impulsive and and
impulsive,
quick,
and I judged the heck out of that one. I was right, by the way.
We were all right about that one.
We were right. Well, this is great. This has got a lot of you guys talking, which I'm super excited about. Bonnie Bukowski, Only Hope for Me.
You will find it. Yes.
Jacob Henry, my grandparents have been married for 70 years, and when my grandpa passed, I gave up my apartment to move back in with my grandma so she's not alone in the house. Well, that's
Jacob, that's so sweet.
We could talk about this for days.
Lovely. My grandfather also asked my grandmother her number. She shouted it from a train. He memorized it. Called her the next day.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But it was
kismet.
like that. Kismet. That's
Kismet.
Right. That's
well,
right.
listen, we're going to go to a Heart Threads, but I watched Green Book last night, and I watched Vice, and I have a lot of things to say about these things, so we should talk later.
Which one did you like better,
Green
Lisa?
Book was amazing.
I heard. My parents loved
Green
it.
Book
Brooks
was
loved
so
it.
good. I'm glad I saw it after Vice, because Vice was depressingly good.
Oh, it was too real.
Too real. I'm shaking a little.
Hashtag.
Still.
It's the keto diet.
It's mostly the keto diet. But stay with us. We're going to go to a Heart Threads, and the word of the day for this Heart Threads is, I have no idea.
Together. In CMA.
All right, see you guys later on in the day. Thanks.
I was diagnosed with some liver disease, technically from unknown causes. For years, it didn't affect me. My wife was in a ski race here in Jackson and died suddenly of a brain aneurysm. We basically did almost everything together, both in terms of just our household marriage, but in terms of adventures. I was getting just weaker and sicker, and and I'd been used to like hiking for many miles, and so it was really noticeable. I wasn't going to last long enough on the waiting list.
So I was obviously in nursing school at the time. That's when I learned about that we have this incredible organ inside of us internally that will regenerate. I was talking about the liver and how it regenerates, and a friend of mine said, oh, well, I know somebody that actually needs a liver. And I was like, oh, no kidding. Just all I wanted to do is go get more information on it. And that more information led to me wanting to do it more and more and more, and actually giving a piece of yourself to somebody to save their life and have them continue their life in the same way they've always lived it. And why the heck not? You only have one life to live, so you might as well help save someone else's life and then continue your beautiful life as well.
So I was given a third of Mark's liver, and he kept 2/3. And within both of us, within 2 months, it had regrown to 100% of full-size liver.
And to see his smile and to see, when he was alive in front of my eyes.
Prior to surgery, Mark and I met several times in the month leading up to that. And he said to me, let's climb the Grand after you're done. So I said, sure, let's do that.
And I was like, I really would love to climb the Grand Teton and conquer something incredible that's in our backyard with, a piece of me and you. And it was an incredible journey that we had up there.
Pretty much the whole time, I was just thinking about all of the people that got me there. For sure, Mark.
just the fact that we had gone through so much to be where we were at that moment was pretty remarkable. To see him climb with me in my presence and see his strength was really incredible. I almost think he might have been a little stronger than I was up there on that peak. It was so blissful, so beautiful. And I think we really took it all in. There was definitely a few tears dropped.
Symbolism of the two of us doing that and doing it together and having that kind of a journey is how good the human experience can work out.